This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and it's Smackdown time again. This time we have two gaming laptops. One serious gaming laptop, even though it's incredibly thin and fairly light. That's the MSI GS60 Ghost Pro. And here we have the new HP Omen 15. Both of these are 15-inch, slim and light, very capable, very powerful laptops. Both have quad-core i7 CPUs inside, lovely displays. Which one's for you? We're going to compare them now. So here they are, two very capable, lovely, and certainly not inexpensive 15.6-inch thin and light powerhouse laptops. You could call them ultrabooks given their size, but honestly they have way too much power and size for an ultrabook, which typically has a ULV CPU. Both of these have full mobile Intel Core i7-4710HQ 2.5 gigahertz CPUs with turbo boost to 3.5 gigahertz. So a lot of power in there. Both have dedicated graphics, switchable. It's Nvidia Optimus graphics, so you can use Intel integrated graphics, and that's HD 4600 in the case of these machines, for those times when you don't need a lot of graphics power, but you need, well, more battery life mostly, and a little bit cooler run times. This is where they start to diverge. This is the easiest to find configuration of the HP Omen 15. It's the one that most physical stores are selling online. You'll find different configurations, particularly on HP's website. This one is $15.99 list price. For the Omen here, you get 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of SSD storage inside. Now the MSI, you know how it is with MSI. There's a million different configurations, it seems like, especially because there's some specialist gaming retailers who will configure these any way you want by opening them up and changing the parts. But this one too is available via retailers online and in stores, and this is the GS60 Ghost Pro, and that's a 2QE line, which has the new Nvidia GTX 970M graphics inside. That one is around $18.99 list price, and it has both a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM hard drive in it and 128 gig SSD, 16 gigs of RAM inside. So a difference in RAM. Now I think a lot of people who are doing everyday things, 8 gigs is plenty enough. But for those of you who are, you feel the need to have more RAM, maybe you're doing video editing, something like that, that could really use it, you can get the Omen with 16 gigs of RAM also. It adds about $200 to the price. Depends on the configuration. They have bundles where they increase the SSD storage and so on with it. You get the idea. So RAM is soldered on with the HP Omen. Now it maxes out at 16 gigs if you want to order it. It's either 8 or 16. Now this guy comes with 16 gigs in our configuration right here. There's 2 RAM slots inside. So yes, it's not soldered on, it's upgradable. But either way, given that there's 2 RAM slots and the biggest RAM chips that you can buy right now are really SO-DIMMs, are 8 gigs apiece. Either way, you're topping out at 16 gigs. So I'm not really going to complain about soldered on here, because even Steven. Faster PCIe interface SSD storage here for faster data transfer times. That's nice. SSDs in general, and even standard MSATA in here, are plenty fast enough. Will most of you notice the difference? Probably not so much, but faster is always nicer. However, this has 2 slots, M2, an MSATA interface, so you could actually put 2 SSDs in here and that, again, 2.5-inch standard terabyte hard drive, which you could also replace with a 2.5-inch SSD drive. So obviously the more expandable one. Neither of these is an absolute joy to upgrade. For the HP, it's not so bad. There's screws underneath the rubber here. And HP says the rubber is not reusable. I don't know if the adhesive gives up the ghost or if this is going to tear to all heck. It's pretty strong. I don't think it's going to tear all the heck. So we haven't opened this guy up. But once you open that up, you have access to the SSD drive in here. Of course, both have socketed wireless cards. You get the idea. With the MSI, more normal here. Several screws to open it up on the bottom. But they have that little tamper-proof sticker, which you can see I've ripped through already. Now, it depends on the country how they roll with the warranty. In the United States, if you open it up, as long as you don't damage the internals while you're opening it up and doing upgrades, they're just fine with that. But it gives them a little out in case you've done something terrible to the insides of the machine. Once you do open this up, it's real easy to get to the 2.5-inch standard drive bay in there. So if you want to swap out that terabyte HDD with an SSD. The motherboard where the 2 SSD slots are and your RAM slots are is in this area, and it is mounted upside down with the actual slots facing towards the keyboard. So you got to kind of tear a lot of things apart just to get to it. So that's why I say neither of these is totally a joy when it comes to upgrading. However, this one does have obviously more upgradable components if you do want to tear it apart. Now ports right here, this is an interesting story with the HP Omen. This is for you neat freaks who want all the ports at the back. It's not real convenient when you're using the machine, but despite that, they managed to put quite a good number of ports on here. You got 4 USB 3.0 ports. You got your full-size HDMI, mini display port there, and the combo audio jack and ventilation here. Both of these suck air in through the top and the sides, and they exhaust it out the back, by the way, away from me, which is a good thing. So for those of you who think this is really annoying, well, there it is. For those of you who think, wow, it's a clean freak dream, I love it, again, there it is. MSI is more standard here. You got ports on each side of the machine, plenty of ports. SD card slot, by the way, the Omen also has an SD card slot. It's on the side of one of the bevels here, a little harder to see. USB 3.0 port, HDMI, mini display port, built-in Ethernet. Now with the Omen, you get a USB to Ethernet adapter in the box. It does not have a physical Ethernet port of its own. 2 more USB ports right there. You've got separate mic and headphone jacks, and this also supports SPDIF. For those of you who are into audio or you have those gaming headsets that split these 2 jacks out, that's convenient. And that's where our power plugs in right there. Both of these come with fairly large power bricks, not as bad as something like you'd see on an Alienware 17 or an Asus ROG G751. 120 watts for the Omen, 150 watts for the MSI. I would say the MSI needs a little more power for the faster graphics that's inside. This is a brushed black aluminum lid here, and the keyboard deck is also aluminum, so that's nice. It's a good understated looking machine. You do have the little gamery logo there. I still think it's pretty safe for work. Pretty classy looking machine, very thin. 4.2 pounds. It's insanely light for a gaming machine. It's very light really for any 15.6-inch laptop on the market. The Omen is also pretty light. It's 4.68 pounds. Yeah, you can feel the ½ pound difference. It's funny, when I pick up the Omen, I say, that feels a little heavy. It's obviously a gorgeous looking machine. It also uses aluminum alloy here and the textured kind of stippled sort of top on it. It's really neat looking, and the bevels and the angles set it apart from, well, any other machine that you're going to see. I think it's pretty classy. It's flashy, yet classy, and I love the chrome here with the kind of discolored exhaust tip look on the edges. The fan lights up when you first boot up the machine. They both have LED programmable Rgb backlit keyboards, and you've got some LED action here. Now some of you have said that you actually see these colored LEDs showing when you're using the machine. For me, they only come on when it boots up and then they go off. So for those of you who are really, wanting to be understated at work, something to keep in mind. Taking a look inside, finally, both of these have 1080p displays at 15.6 inches. I think that's a perfect resolution, especially for those of you who want to do gaming, because a lot of games really don't handle Windows 8.1 scaling so well. For those of you who are graphics professionals, you might be interested in a higher resolution display. I know Adobe Photoshop's menus become incredibly tiny. Say you're editing 4K video, you might have to put up with some UI difficulties there, but that's an option. With the MSI, you can get a 3K or a 4K display also. Typically $50 to $100 gets you up to the 3K display, and then the 4K display is around $200 more or so. The 3K is gloss. The 1080p display we have here is matte. I really happen to like that. There's no glare. By the way, no touchscreen on the MSI GS60 Ghost Pro. So for those of you who want to use Windows 8.1, including the live tile interface, that can make a difference. It's certainly a lot less fun when you have to do it with a mouse instead of a touchscreen. For those of you who spend all your time in the desktop environment here, well, it's not going to matter as much. The HP has a glossy display. Oh, it's very glossy. It's, yeah. It's a mirror. It's a mirror. It's really a lovely display. They both have very good color gamut, almost 100% of sRGB, very good contrast ratio on both of these. So otherwise, you're looking at basically inside a Samsung panel on both of these that's quite good. So it comes down, do you want touch? Are you okay with the glare? Do you like matte better, or do you need higher resolutions? The MSI is going to give you those higher resolutions. The HP is 304 nits of brightness, and we measured 335 on the MSI, so it's a little bit brighter. It's going to seem a lot brighter, though, because you're not combating the glare. Typically, I run the MSI at about 40 or 50% brightness, and that's plenty bright enough. Even when I'm playing games sometimes, and with the HP, I tend to keep it more at 60 or 70% just because, well, it has to fight the mirror effect. Both of these, like I said, have programmable backlit Rgb keyboards. That means you can have different colors for different zones. You can watch our full reviews to learn more about that. One thing that's nice about the HP is you can have the WASD keys as their own little zone. For those of you who play a lot of first-person shooters, you know how handy that can be. This is lovely to type on, the HP keyboard. The Steel Series keyboard on the MSI is even better. Either way, you're not going to suffer with it. If you're doing content creation that involves making lots of words, you'll like either of them, but the MSI is, trust me, nicer feeling. A little more key travel, good job. When it comes to the trackpad, though, the MSI's trackpad is pretty darn mediocre. It's an Elan trackpad. Single touch gestures, okay, it's a little dodgy on the diagonal movements sometimes, but yeah, it's the multi-touch gestures. If you're doing something like two-fingered scrolling, you really have to keep your fingers straight like this. No, at a little angle. The HP has a wildly oversized Synaptics trackpad. Now, I don't think it really needs to be that big. It's as big as an iPhone 6, actually, but really responsive, great with multi-touch gestures. It's almost as good as a MacBook Pro. And one last word about the keyboards. The HP Omen 15 has 6 programmable keys running up a column right here, P1 through P6. So if you want to assign keyboard commands to that, you can do that. But there's no number pad. Usually 15-inch laptops don't. 17-inch laptops do. They have more room. One of the reasons the MSI has a bigger footprint, which also results in bigger bezels around the display to match the footprint of the machine, is it actually has a number pad. So number crunchers and you gaming folks who actually use the number pad when you're playing gaming, you're going to like that, especially because it's a relative rarity on a 15-inch machine. Where these really pull apart is for serious gaming, sort of. Both of these have the latest generation Nvidia Maxwell graphics. That's a good thing. Inside, they use less power, generate less heat. This means both machines actually run reasonably cool and quiet for gaming level laptops. You're going to hear the fan when you're gaming for sure, and you're going to feel heat coming out, but nothing dangerous for the CPU or GPU, and nothing that's actually going to burn your skin. It's going to feel uncomfortably warm on the bottom if you've been playing Battlefield 4 for an hour, but that's about it. But anyway, Nvidia GTX 860M graphics in here. You can get it with 2 gigs, that's a more common configuration, or 4 gigs of DDR5 dedicated video memory inside. That's an upper middle class graphics card, and actually you can watch our gaming demo that we did with the HP Omen 15. It does surprisingly well with today's more demanding games like Far Cry 4, Battlefield 4, Dragon Age Inquisition. We can run those games on a mix of medium and high settings and maintain 45 frames per second or so, which I think is pretty nice and smooth. Now, the MSI GS60 Ghost Pro with the GTX 970M, this particular one has 6 gigs of DDR5 video memory, which is kind of overkill. The 3K resolution display for some reason only comes with 3 gigs. That's still plenty enough. Don't worry about that. Anyway, this and the 980M, which is not available in something this thin and light, are the top 2 graphics cards on the market right now. You can get a laptop, very new, really fast. Every game I tried, I could run on high and ultra settings, not a problem. It makes it more future-proof. For those of you who are really into gaming, it's worth a couple of $100 investment more, unless you're the kind of person who upgrades their laptop every year, because 2 years from now, this is still going to be a viable player for whatever games come out. The 860M in 2 years will show its age more, because it is only an upper middle class graphics card, like I said. So as a long-term investment, the MSI certainly makes sense for those of you who like to keep your laptop for long periods of time. For those of you who are Photoshop jockeys, video editors, you know, 2 years down the road, this one will still seem not too bad at all. You're still going to get more oomph out of this one with the 970M, and that's not something to discount there. But for today's workload, the HP Omen 15 is certainly fine. And 2 years from now, you know, if you're not into doing the most killer tasks with it, you just want to take it to college to do some gaming every once in a while, get all of your college work done, have fast compile times if you're a computer science major. If you're a number cruncher, handle big spreadsheets, this guy is perfectly fine. But like I said, this guy is the kind of all-out high performance, just about the fastest thing you're going to find in anything this slim and this light. So there you have it. In some ways, they're very much alike. They're both very thin, attractive, stylish, pricey laptops that can do just about anything a desktop can do. At the same time, the MSI is more upgradable. It has the higher-end graphics card for those of you who are into gaming. It's a bit more future-proof. The HP fights back with, I think, an even more attractive industrial design. And it has a touchscreen for those of you who actually want to enjoy Windows 8, the Metro Live Tile experience, something you're not going to get with the MSI Ghost Pro GS60. So how about battery life? There's the bane of the existence of gaming laptops, even these thin and light ones, because they have very high-end, hungry components inside. Well, with the MSI GS60 Ghost Pro, it is not so great. It's about 3 hours when you're doing productivity stuff or streaming full HD video, either way. Obviously, if you're just working in Word or Excel, you're going to get more runtime than if you're streaming full HD video, but on average, that's about what it is. And that's with brightness set at 50% and using that Wi-Fi connection. The HP Omen 15 now, by Ultrabook terms, is still going to seem sad, but for a powerful laptop, 4.75 hours. So obviously longer runtimes here, 4.75 versus 3. Clear winner here, HP Omen. For those of you who need to go 3-hour flights and not use up all your battery power, this would be the one, obviously. Now, when you're gaming, both of these will go about 2 hours or so. Then obviously you're using dedicated graphics, you're hitting the CPU hard. But, you know, if you're gaming, you really want to plug it in to get the most power. In terms of thermal throttling, by the way, both of these have very good cooling systems on them and really didn't see thermal throttling as an issue here, nor power throttling either. The power adapters for each of these is adequate to provide enough power. So that's the MSI GS60 Ghost Pro versus the HP Omen 15. And as you can see, they're both very capable machines. For those of you who are into gaming but not hardcore into gaming, but you want something that's very capable for multimedia, is a brand that's available everywhere that you can trust, really stylish, good looks for work. Obviously, the HP Omen 15 has a lot going for it. But the MSI GS60 Ghost Pro is no slouch. It's also got looks you could take to work, and the gaming capabilities here, wow. Very impressive. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to watch our video reviews of each of these laptops, read our written reviews, and hit that like button.